This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Jon Edlin. We're going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey, and I want to welcome you to the Fam Electric Ghost podcast. You have a Tornado Smart as your URL below, and we're going to talk about how people face life challenges. Your house was completely destroyed by a tornado. You found yourself in that moment of total loss. Instead of giving up, you found a way to survive and grow through it. So that's where you're going to talk about your story. Before we get to the heart of your story, we always ask every guest on the show a couple questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. And I mean, honestly, for the past 6 years since my family was hit by an EF3 tornado, I've been just waking up every morning thinking about how can I help others, not make the same mistakes that I made right before the tornado. And that's what motivates me every morning, waking up knowing that I can help a young dad or just a mom or whoever it is prepare better for a tornado and not be caught like I was in a bad situation.
Yeah, it's interesting because I live in the Northeast, and my mom lives in Springfield, Massachusetts. And one time they had like an EF 2-3. They came in. It came off the off the Connecticut River outside of Springfield.
Yeah,
like I don't know, it was like 10 years ago. But it came off the river and then it went into the suburbs. It went through downtown and it hit my mom's neighborhood.
Oh my goodness!
It didn't hit our house, but it put an oak tree right on my neighbor's house. And
wow!
They were stuck in it.
Yep.
And it took the roofs off of like 15 houses in the subdivision.
Yeah.
And then it went on to goes into toward the Berkshire, to Wilbraham, Mass, and just cut this massive swath that we'd never seen.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew we had like F-0s and F1s. You could go in the woods and you could see it.
Yeah.
But we never had like a 3 coming.
Right. And those, I mean, that's a totally different situation. I mean, honestly, I've even been thinking lately, because, I live in Kansas City now. When the tornado happened, I was in Nashville, but I grew up in Kansas City. So I was used to tornadoes. I was used to seeing tornado warnings. I'd never seen a tornado or anything until this tornado hit us when I was 33. But, I was used to going down to the basement. I was used to taking cover. I was used to seeing it maybe, on the news and that kind of thing. But now, like whenever the tornado warning goes off, obviously with this experience, like we head down to the basement right away. But when it's an EF0 or an EF1, I think that's where people start to think things I don't really need to do anything. Yeah, exactly. And so, but the EF3s, that's serious. And you really don't know until like it's on top of you. So you do need to take precautions.
Yeah.
But so many people are like, I saw a tornado. It didn't do much damage. It's like, well, there's different levels.
There's different levels. Like you get a 3, like you guys out in Oklahoma and Kansas, you guys get the 5s.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get the 5s, and like they know what that does.
Exactly. That makes national news, right?
But the 3, the 3 was scary. I mean, the fact that it came into we got warnings in Massachusetts. Most of the people it's Massachusetts. Like that doesn't happen. It's not,
right.
It's not, we're not Toto. We're like, that's not going to happen.
Are there even tornado sirens in Massachusetts?
No, we don't even have.
So it would just be on your phone.
It was just the phone and the TV. Yeah. My mom was on the phone with my wife. And then she says, "Oh, we got a tornado warning."
Wow.
And we kind of my mom's like, "Well, I don't know if I should go down." She was talking to my wife, and then she heard something that sounded like a freight train. She said, "Oh, I know what that means." And they say, "I'm sorry, I'm going to the basement."
Yeah, well, good for her. I mean, a lot of people hear that sound and then they want to go outside and look at it.
Well, yeah, that's the wrong thing to do.
It's the wrong thing to do, but it's honestly like I get it because the tornado that hit us was in the middle of the night. It was 1 a.m.
Oh, that's a dangerous one.
It's dangerous.
Can't even see them.
Exactly, and I heard it, and it definitely sounds like a train. It also sounds like 5 jet engines just rumbling because it rumbles your chest when it's that close and that big.
You feel it's really close.
You can feel it. Yeah, you can feel it. And it's eerie because the electricity goes out ahead of time. And so it's just like dead silence. And then you hear this like rumble and it's rumbling your chest. You're like, oh my gosh, this thing's coming for us.
Yeah, at night it's like if your lights are off, like now you got to get to your basement and the lights are off.
Well, and the problem for us in Nashville is we didn't have a basement. Oh, wow. So we were in the hallway. You want to be on the innermost part of the house. And so we were in the hallway, which was the right place to be, but it's still not a great place to be. We'd
It's
rather
not the
have had a
best place you
basement.
can be. Yeah, your basement's like what you want.
Yeah, but we didn't have one. So that's where we were at. And I mean, it literally went on top of us. And at the time, again, I was 33, I'm 40 now. So this was 6, 7 years ago. And my kids were 5 and 7 at the time.
Yeah,
And
you want to make sure they don't get like, if the roof
I'm
comes
telling
off,
you,
like
they're
what
they're
can
little
happen?
tiny
Yeah.
kids. And so you see their little tiny bodies. And so I literally just jumped on top of my daughter.
the whole TV. Yeah, do you think so? Because if your roof goes off, it's like that wind's like
Right.
whipping.
Right. Well, and when it hit, we're in between the 2 doors to the bedroom, and it's just sucking us back and forth, boom, 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 boom. And it kind of feels like if you've ever been on the back of a boat, like on an inner tube, and you kind of feel that lift. That's what it feels like.
Like if somebody's like bringing it on the lake and you're dragging.
And it starts, and you just are like, okay, I'm just going to let go. I'm just going to get thrown. I'm going to get tossed. That's what I felt like.
You felt like it's going to toss you.
But then as soon as I thought that, like it just ended, and it was just silence. And I looked around and everything was gone. I mean, we lost our house. We lost everything.
Roof off. It took the walls.
It took the roof off. It took everything. Yeah, we had to demolish the house. All of our clothes had insulation and glass and everything
all
in it.
Embedded in it. Yeah.
All embedded. Even if we washed it, it was still
lost it, so you couldn't even use it.
Yeah, the insurance company showed up and was like, "Okay, here's your check."
When you see that,
we didn't have to itemize anything.
There's no debate. Like it's a total loss.
Yeah. So, I mean, that made the insurance process easier, but obviously, like having to rebuild. And this was March 3rd, 2020. So if you remember that, March, mid-March, COVID started. And so I'm at the hotel after our house is completely, demolished. I'm flipping through the news and showing tornado coverage, and then it's showing COVID coverage. And I'm like, COVID, what is this? And so our whole life, like people who used to show up and help us, like,
they probably
clean up,
go out.
They're just like
lockdown.
Well, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to make you any food, because if we make you food, you'll get COVID. And so a lot of that, like, natural stuff that you would have help wasn't there. And we were just kind of alone in this in hotel with nothing to do, just like, the rest of the world.
Yeah, because then you're kind of locked down. You're not in your house. You're in a hotel. You can't get to community because community is like locked down.
Yeah.
And it's like, that must be like, if you're in the middle of a crisis like that and then you got a lockdown on top of it, that must have been like really compounding like the frustration.
It really was. It was, I look back on it and just think like, wow, how did I overcome that? And that's a lot of, that's why I wrote a book. So I did start a tornado education company to help people with, being educated about tornadoes. But I also wrote a book about overcoming adversity. And it's called the PSI method. And it's because those were the things that I had to do in order to, like, get through that crazy situation.
Do you think that probably contributing to like the danger for some people is they see these professional like storm chasers? You see these things on like all the Discovery and these channels, national, but those guys are scientists. Like
they are. Yeah.
And so it's like you don't think like you don't have a PhD, right?
And you don't have a full team. You think they're just out there in this truck by themselves, but the reality is they have 5 trucks behind them who are guiding them, talking on walkie-talkies and helping them get to a safe spot. And of course, like you said, they've been to college to learn this stuff. So I love storm chasers. I follow a ton of them. I still love just like being caught up in the whole tornado. It's a fascinating thing. And to actually have been in one, it's even more fascinating. They're fascinating things, but the thing is
human curiosity.
I'm not going out there and trying to chase one myself.
Yeah, because I saw there was some film with some dad they actually had a cellar, like a storm cellar.
Yeah.
And he's putting his whole family in the storm cellar. Everybody's in. Yeah. But he still came out and like was looking around. Was like, you shouldn't do that.
No. Nope.
Like once you're there, like close it and stay in.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the thing that happened, like in the Springfield tornadoes. Like there were people in the neighborhood that just couldn't believe it. They were actually on the street.
Yeah,
and it was like they were lucky they didn't get hit by the trees that were flying around.
Exactly.
It's like you're just like lucky you didn't get, because that once that stuff like the 2x4s and stuff starts flying off the roofs, that went. He's like, you have no idea what. That'll take you out.
And even glass. There were lots of my neighbors who had glass just kind of embedded in their head, because when a small piece of glass flies at you at 150 miles per hour and gets lodged, that's gonna hurt. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you got to take them seriously. And that's feels like a huge part of the challenge is just getting people to take this seriously.
Well, because they see on TV and you say, oh, I see all these influencers and they do these videos and everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to make the next influencer video.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, don't. It's not your time to go on TikTok. It's not your time to go on YouTube. It's your time to hit the basement, to hit the bathtub. If you don't have it, like people say, the bathroom, is that the right thing to do?
Well, I think, I mean, it all depends. The main thing is to be in the innermost part of the house. And so like for us, if we would have been in the bathroom, that whole window got blown in. And so we would have gotten hit by so much more glass at that point. And so I was glad we were in the innermost part because all those walls stayed. And so that was really the best play. And even when you think about the roof, when we said the roof came off, the roof comes off on the sides. And so the middle, like drywall, the roof was gone above us, but the drywall was still there because it's in the innermost part and everything kind of gets sucked off on the sides. And then the outer walls cave in. So like when I opened up the bedroom door to my wife and I's room, there was a brick wall on top of our bed, no ceiling, everything was gone. Then I opened up the door to my kids' rooms and wall was sucked out, no ceiling, everything was gone. So, that was just the reality. It was like a Hollywood movie, especially like because you're looking out at the neighborhood and it's just past, it's 1 a.m. and it's just an orange sky.
Yeah, change the color.
And the whole neighborhood doesn't even look like it because all the trees are just, flat.
Flat. So, it took like the tops off. That's the weirdest thing I saw is these trees like with the tops chopped off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we see like the 2-story houses some of them had the second story gone.
Yep.
And the first story is still there or the whole thing was gone. It's kind of like kind of hit or miss. And then it was like bouncing around. Like I said, our house didn't get any damage.
Right.
But my neighbor's house is like totally wrecked.
Well, even in our yard, the shed didn't have anything wrong with the shed. I don't, how does that even happen?
It's like was it skipping around? Like, what is it doing?
So inside a tornado, there's multiple vortices, like vortexes, right?
Different
and
ones.
So there might be like in the big wedge, it looks like one, but there's actually 3 little ones that are kind of dancing around. So it looks like it's kind of, I didn't know that until after I got hit by a tornado.
So it's like not exactly plowing through unless it's one of those EF5s. It's like the whole.
That's a whole different story. I mean, I talked to somebody. So, one of the most popular ones is the Joplin tornado. There's some great documentaries on that.
Destroyed the whole town.
Yeah. And I got an opportunity to chat with a guy who survived that. And he said, it was crazy because you hit that, we got hit. And then afterwards it was silent. And we're like, okay, it's done. But then the other part, we were just in the middle of it.
Oh, in the middle of that.
Yeah, and in EF3, we didn't feel that. It just kind of, it came, it went over us. It felt like 30 minutes, but it was probably more like 3 seconds. And it just went over us. It was done. But in an EF5, you're going to get hit, and then there's going to be silence if you're in the middle, because it's a mile wide. And then the back part's coming. So
yeah, that's terrible. It's kind of like when you're those hurricanes and you're in like the eye.
Yeah, I think that's what it's like. That's what it sounded like. I mean, and it's just, it's so hard to imagine because to me, that would be like going through 2 tornadoes, I mean, it would just be terrifying. And one was enough,
Yeah, you don't need like these. The scary thing is like, during the day, like the Springfield was during the day. It was like, it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. And so everybody could see it. Right? And people were like reporting it. And it was like getting the news was saying, it actually hit downtown. It hit the highway. It hit like 93. It went downtown, damaged some brick buildings downtown. So like, some old buildings in part of Springfield just like hit the facades, knocked them off. It killed somebody downtown. Their house caved in on them. But it was like, it's so crazy because we're like, everybody talk about the Springfield tornado. And like, it's not something, if you look into history, like there are tornadoes that have happened like in the 50s.
Yeah.
You can check they happened in the 20s. They actually record them. They happen in New England, but he's like, they don't get what the news you get, like the way it happens in, in the tornado alley.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Well, that is, I mean, I think that is crazy. And you talk to a lot of people who moved to Kansas City from, the Northeast or from California or something, and they hear the tornado sirens, and it's the first time they've ever heard that. Because in the Midwest, you do you test the sirens once a
So
month.
you actually have like drills. The
Yeah,
kids
so you
get
have
that like at school. They get the drills and they get told
they
told
get the
what to do.
drills and they test all the sirens to make sure they're, working and that kind of thing. But I remember, one of the first times that a friend of mine from he was from somewhere in New England, Boston, I think, and he heard those and he was like, "Oh, do I
What's
take
that?
cover?" And I was like, "No, it's just a test. It's the first Wednesday of every month, dude. You're fine." So there's just a lot of knowledge that has to be
Yeah.
gained from people, especially if you didn't grow up in it. But even when you did grow up with it, like me, I still I had so many myths that I believed about tornadoes that literally 3 hours before we got hit by the tornado, I told my wife, I said, "Don't worry about Nashville tornadoes. They just skip on the hills. They're not as strong as Kansas tornadoes. And we live in a valley, so it would just skip right over." So I literally said that.
Yeah.
And then like 3 hours later,
Yes.
I get the alarm and the alarm went off on my phone because it goes off before the sirens. And even then I was like,
Yeah, it's no big
it's
deal.
probably nothing. But then I turned on the TV and I was like, okay, it's actually on the ground. And this is like downtown Nashville because we were living in Nashville at the time. It was downtown Nashville. And I'm like, we're 10 miles directly east of this thing. And so if it goes directly east, like we're going to get hit. So that's when I got, the kids and we got there. And then that's when the sirens started going on. So, I mean, that was only, 3-4 minutes. And so as soon as we got everybody in the safe spot, I was like, boom. And it just happens. Pop, 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 pop,
Because you really have to, I think people get into a lull. Because, if you do the drill and it never happens, and you grow up and you're never actually in one.
That's right. Or like we talked about, like they see the damage and it's not that bad because it was an EF0 or an EF1. They're like, even if it happened, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But you don't know what size it is until you're in it.
It is. Yeah. You're like, people, they don't know how dangerous. Like, when the hurricanes come, you get these people that go on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
They stay in the beachfront, and then they were like, what? Like, what were you doing that for?
Right.
Right. The hurricane parties, like, you don't want to hurry. Please don't do that.
Seriously. Yeah. I don't know much about hurricanes or beaches being in Kansas. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's the one thing in New England, they usually, by the time I'm in New Hampshire, by the time they get to New Hampshire, they're so weak. We just get like really bad thunderstorms. And then those thunderstorms actually trigger like EF1s, EF0s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we will get those from the result of that hurricane coming through. But most of the time, because we got tons of pine forest everywhere, most of the time they just hit the pines.
Wow.
They don't even hit where anybody is. And I'm a mountain biker, and I'll go out in the woods and I'll see the path that this thing went through, and you'll see these paths that happen because they happen.
Yeah. Wow.
So people don't realize that they're happening because they're not hitting like where we live.
Yeah.
They're hitting the woods.
Yep. Definitely.
But that's like, so you don't like, but I guess when you're in the plains, you don't have so much woods.
No.
Okay. But you're living in a place that does have woods, so.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas City, I'm like just a stone's throw away from Missouri. So we're basically like Missouri, but you get out into like Western Kansas and there's a whole lot of nothing. And I think now with with the radar and everything, they're saying there's a lot more tornadoes out there that nobody would have ever seen because they're literally out in the middle of nowhere. But from radar, you can see it. So then they count it, even though it didn't do any damage and nobody would have ever seen it.
Human beings don't see it. So they're like, oh, it's not happening. Like, but it's happening. And then if you start building in areas where you normally, weren't there, then you're going to run into them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Cause like, I think like having this type of thing happen, like when somebody goes through like this, this, crucible moment in their life, like something happens, it's like a big event. And so you learn from it, or you get like, you end up being like just, traumatized by it.
That's
so
right.
You found a way to like take the creative nature of it. It's like, well, let me see. I'm not going to let this like push me down. I'm not going to let this destroy my whole
that's right.
life. Like you got to find a way to like take it and learn from it.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, and that's why I created, the PSI method, which it's on Amazon. It's actually not on my tornadosmart.com, but if you just type in my name on Amazon, it'll pop up. But it's, it's a small book that I wrote to help people understand how I overcame the adversity. And the PSI comes from like a tire, right? Like a
Yeah,
tire,
yeah,
you know, the
tire
PSI.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like
the
my
tire
mountain bike
pressure,
tire. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so after an adverse situation, and the way that I felt after this tornado is your tire feels low and you kind of feel like
Mhm.
you're on flat for a while. And so it's like, how do we get that tire pumped back up? Well, you don't want to pump it up too much, right? Because then it explodes. So you got to
Yeah,
find the right balance.
yeah, but balance, yeah.
So the PSI stands for power, smart, and important. And the
Mm,
power, right? You can't give yourself so much power again that you explode and your head gets all big and you walk around like, look at me, I'm a tornado survivor or anything like that, right? But
mhm.
you also have the power to choose how you're going to respond to this adverse situation. You're going to have the power to decide if you're going to take this adverse situation and make something good out of it, or play the victim card and say, oh, you know, well, then COVID happened, then this happened, and yeah, I would have a nice couch, but it got torn up by the tornado, and just like take that. And that's, you kind of want to do that a little bit
Yeah,
because it's safe and it's,
yeah, it
and you
can
kind
be
of,
like a comfort
yeah,
in your
a lot of
safety
people
above.
patting you
Yeah,
on the back and like,
yeah,
oh, you know, he's his house was hit by a tornado, so you know it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be, he can't come to this or he can't do that. It kind of just gives you that. So
yeah,
you,
yeah.
for whatever
Now
reason,
it's
you're
so,
kind
yeah,
of,
I have to
yeah,
catch it.
drawn to that. And then it takes a little bit more to be like, no, I'm gonna choose to have a growth mindset about this. I'm gonna choose to say, like, I can make something good come out of this. And so you know, that's part of why I read that book, wrote the book. And then that's also why I started the tornadosmart.com, or the Edlin Tornado Solutions company was out of that. And then the smart is that I was feeling kind of stupid about insurance. Like, did I take out enough? I didn't really understand tornadoes. I believe that myth that it was just going to skip on the hills. And like, what an idiot. And you're
Oh,
just
so
like,
you might not have enough coverage.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you never have enough, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just
They,
doesn't.
they always try to con
Yeah.
you like into thinking you don't need it, or you don't know what you need to buy.
Yeah, I know. And so you kind of just are like, man, and you're kicking yourself. And it's like, on top of losing everything, you're also going to just negatively like impact your brain and saying, I'm not smart enough. And so I had to remind myself, hey, you're smart. And maybe, yeah, maybe I didn't take out enough coverage or whatever. Maybe I don't understand all the insurance terms, but I can find people around me that will help me,
Yeah.
that are smart as well and will help me. And so I kind of had to do that to keep out of, from like being flat on the tire,
So you found
in
people
that
that
way.
even if you didn't have the covered day, there was assistance programs for homeowners that maybe didn't have it.
Yeah, or just, you know, just friends that I would be like, "Hey, I'm having trouble understanding this insurance term," and they're like, "Oh, my cousin's an insurance person.
Insurance
Let me
agent,
talk with
so
them."
they can tell
Yeah,
you what it means.
instead of
Yeah.
just being super like
Well, a lot of times with
insecure.
I work with insurance companies. 'Cause I'm a software guy, and I work with,
Okay.
and their tendency to underwrite, what they love to do is this: they claim people, they love to deny,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't realize you can appeal.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yep.
like especially like some insurance, like if they're automatic is denial, but you always
Wow.
have the right of appeal.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
appeal, a lot of times they don't expect you to, and if
Mm.
you do, you actually will get it. Right. So
Yeah.
some people don't realize that
Yeah.
it's across the board. It's like with
Right.
property, casualty, health, like a lot of especially
Mm.
now with the AI tools, the AI systems just automatically deny everything.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
you have to bring
Makes
it to a
sense.
human being. And
Mm.
then the next step is you bring it to a customer service person. And
Mhm.
then if they give you some BS, say, I want to talk to the manager.
Yeah.
If you talk to the manager, it puts you on a totally different category. Oh, this client might
Wow.
not like us. This client might make complaints. This client might go get a
Ah.
lawyer. So maybe
Mhm.
we'll give them a break.
Mhm.
If the squeaky wheel gets the grease, like
Yeah.
if you just say, oh, okay, well, that's what it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if you actually push a little bit, you'll find out sometimes if you push, you can get something.
See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, that is, and that's, I think, one of the gifts, if you could call it that, right, of going through something like this, is you realize that you don't have all the answers and that you do need to depend on the community. You do need to depend on somebody who has more information, because you're going through something that you've never gone through before and that most people haven't gone through. I mean, I was looking around for other tornado survivors, just there weren't that many in my community. They were my
Yeah.
neighbors and everything, but they're all traumatized too. So there wasn't anybody who's like, "Oh, I've been
History of it.
there
You
and
want to
this
find
is what it's
somebody
like."
that,
Yeah.
that actually went through like like an
Mhm.
EF3, like from a different community,
Yeah.
and like take their lessons learned and what did they
Mhm.
learn about what they could do, and
Mhm.
were they able to get anything from FEMA? Were they
Exactly.
able to get like
Mhm.
anything from the state? Were they able to get
Yep.
some, even if it's not FEMA? Could you get a different agency to help you?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it's so overwhelming because there's so many different things. I mean, both of our cars were gone. So that's your first thing. You got to find cars. And then, you know, our house is gone. So we got to find a place to stay. And there's just like thing after thing after thing that you have to figure out. And so when I put in a request for FEMA, I didn't get anything. Like they said denied. And I was just like, whatever, like I don't have enough energy to think through this anymore.
Yeah.
And then you see all those things where like a benefit, especially in Nashville, there's like benefit concert for all the tornado survivors. And I'm like, how do I get that? Like,
How do I get it? Yeah, the contact.
And then I was like, I'm too tired to figure that out. And, you know, because you're just exhausted. And so it is what it is. And I think that's with that SMART category. It's like, I am so drained. My brain is not functioning fully. I'm in a fog. And you start to kind of beat yourself up. Like you got to remind yourself in those adverse situations that you are smart, and you just lean into the things that you know, and lean into the people who are smart around you. So that's a big part. And then the last one's going to be important. And that's reminding yourself that you're important, that you're important enough to get the help that you need. So a crazy thing after this tornado. So it happened. So I get the alarm at 12:55 a.m. right on my phone, and I look at it. Every single night for 3 months, I'm not kidding, I woke up at exactly 12:55 a.m.
Like thinking it's going to happen again?
I don't know. Like my brain just woke me up.
Yeah, it's probably
and then I replayed the whole thing. Yeah. It's probably like, hey, like remember when you didn't wake up at 12:55? You know, like so I would replay the whole thing. My body would shake, and of course, anytime there was a chance of a thunderstorm or severe weather event, I couldn't go into work. I would just lay down in bed and just shake. Like my body would physically shake.
Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. But I didn't think about that because I didn't think that was important. I didn't think anything about it. I was like, yeah, it's just a thing. It'll go away. But then I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, hey, bro, like that's PTSD. Like, you need some help. And I was like, no, it's fine. He's like, hey, you're important enough to get help. And so I got a counselor. I did this thing called the EMDR, which is like this thing that helps with PTSD. I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but it has to do with eye movement. Have you heard of EMDR? Yeah. And it was, I honestly, I was like, this is weird. I don't want to do this, but I'm at the point where I'll try anything. So I tried it, and it was life-changing. It was incredible. And it literally, like after it was about 5 sessions where it would release that. And I was completely released. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be able to run the company.
Yeah, sometimes do you find that sometimes like men who we're kind of being told, no, we gotta be strong. Like
that's right.
We don't need any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to go to that therapist. I don't want to go try the breathing. I don't want to try this. But like when you find out, like you hit the wall, it's like, I actually am getting up every night. I actually have PTSD. I got the shakes. It's like, and maybe you do have to lean into these things that like maybe your friends or other men around you say, well, you know, you don't need any of that. It's like, well, yeah, that's what you guys say.
Yeah.
Until your wife, their wives or their girlfriends, someone's like, no, that's not what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And so reminding people who've gone through an adverse situation that they're important. That's what I tell people, like in my book or when I'm speaking about it, is that you might have somebody that you know who's going through an adverse situation right now, and they may need to hear that they're important. They may need to hear from you, like, hey, you're important. I know you're struggling. Like you may need to go get some professional help, and that's okay because you're important enough to work on that. And so I encourage people to be like that friend. Because again, one of the gifts about going through something like this is that you become more vulnerable and more like aware of other people going through something like that.
It gives you the empathy to understand that once you go through something, then you're like, if you're one of these people like, well, I don't know about this, then suddenly it happens to you. Then you're like, oh, yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah. Maybe I should want to be part of the community, because we're kind of all taught, like in America, to be like these individuals, a rugged individual.
Yeah.
And the rugged individualism is cool. You know, a lot of people get to be entrepreneurs, but a lot of these people who say they're entrepreneurs and they act like they did it all by themselves. Yeah. It's not true.
That's right.
Almost all these big billionaires, they did not do it by themselves, right? A lot of them, there's all these engineers, there's all these people that you don't know who they are.
That's right.
They're the ones that help them, right? There's all these people. It's like probably like you put like 50, 100 people probably help them get where they are. Yep. And they made a lot of mistakes. Yep. Right. Not everything was like a 0 to 100. Like people didn't get there overnight. Maybe it tries to tell the story that this is overnight Horatio Alger myth. And
Mhm.
I just got it because I'm so brilliant and I'm so
Mhm.
self-reliant and I didn't need anybody. And like, really,
Mhm.
it's not really the truth.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that overnight success stuff, there's just no way. That's just not how it goes. And you look at all the amazing entrepreneurs out there, but a lot of times, like you said, they got that person right next to them who's,
Their
who's the
mentor, they've got
Mhm.
like they got some breaks. They got some funding. There's people they knew. They
Yep.
don't really lean in to tell you how did you get the funding. Who did you know? And maybe your daddy's trust fund gave you the money.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, like somehow like the guys in the golf club gave you the money.
Right. Yeah.
Like well, I'm not in that club, so I couldn't get the money. So it's
Mhm.
like there's certain things
Mhm.
that they leave out. If you leave
Yep.
it out, it's also like if you think about it, like these people who could do these 10-step things, they do these programs. I'm going to get $1 million in 30 days,
Yeah.
right? And they say they did it, but it's like, wait a minute. It's like it's the 30 days plus the 10 years you didn't talk about.
Mhm.
There's like 10
Exactly.
years of your life that you are just saying it happened in 30 days, but it's 10 years and 30 days.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then people wonder like, well, how come it didn't work? Because they didn't tell you about the 10 years they went through, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and I do think that the interesting thing about the timing for me going through this, I was 33. And so, in your 30s, there's a lot of like I was building a sales career at that point. And like every month it was about hitting quota and like building up and becoming a sales director and like, getting my career to a certain level. And it's like after the tornado, you're just like, you know what? Like that doesn't really matter, you know?
You were not on the like that rat race thing. You said like I want to be
Mhm.
an entrepreneur.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
Yeah, I think that COVID tended to do that. I've talked to like 1,300 people on this show,
Mm.
and there's this thing that happened like in 2020 to like now,
Yeah.
where there was a lot of people that were on that train. They're in the career train, and they
Yep.
were on that path. And then that thing happened, and they were like, oh, no, no, no. Like
Yeah.
they suddenly became writers. They became like
Mhm.
artists, or they leaned into something they really like a childhood dream.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they said, "Oh, that's impossible," and then
Yep.
they had time to actually not be commuting, or
That's
they
right.
weren't on the plane, they weren't in the cubicle, and then they say, "What happens if I actually try to do what I want to do?"
Exactly. Yeah. And it really just it gives you that fresh perspective, that I think maybe the whole world was needing at that point, you
Yeah,
know?
I've always wanted to, like, I was on the train. I did a lot of road warrior stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm 57,
Mhm.
58 actually. But yeah, I did that in my 20s, and I was like, and that was cool
Mm.
being on planes, and I wasn't married, and I was flying around. I
Yeah.
lived in Japan. I did all this stuff, and it's
Mm.
like, okay, but eventually, I actually want to be at home.
Yeah.
I actually want to be able to see my kids.
Yep.
I want to see my wife. It's like I don't want to be like always on the road. But some people
Mhm.
make their like priorities like
Mhm.
that career is taking 110% of your time.
Yeah.
There's no time for your family, no time for your friends, and you're putting everything into that.
Mhm.
And then sometimes, like nowadays, these companies, oh, well, let's let go 30,000 people because AI is better. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why were you doing that for 20 years if they can just drop you like that?
Right. That makes you feel really bad because you're just like, "I gave them everything, and then they just dropped me in, like, 2 weeks and
Yeah, they
gone."
didn't even call you into the conference room. They sent you an
Mhm.
email like 12 midnight.
Yeah.
We no longer need your services. Okay. So why was I such a company guy?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that yeah, like I said, like, I mean, there are certain gifts that happen with those kinds of things, and the timing that it happened in my life at 33, I think really did reshape my trajectory as, in my career and just what I got up and was excited to do every day.
Yeah, I think leaning into you. I've always told people because I'm a musician, right? You're a musician, but like
Mhm.
I always tell like young musicians when I work with them,
Mhm.
like 'cause sometimes I do production stuff for people, and sometimes somebody will come to me and it'll be like a clone, it'll be a copy of something,
Mm,
and
mhm.
they think that's what I want to hear. They want to hear that they can
Mm.
sound like somebody in the top 20.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't really want to hear that because they're already that,
Mhm.
right? There's
Yeah.
already somebody like that. Like I
Right.
want to hear the song that you're scared to show me, because
Right.
that's the one that's going to give you an advantage because it
Mhm.
doesn't sound like everybody else.
Mhm.
'Cause if we can work on making you sound the best you can be,
Yeah.
but it's no like not it doesn't sound like anybody else,
Mhm.
but we can go and treat it right. We can
Mhm.
get the mics right. We get all the preamps right. Get all everything right, and we can stay close. Not that I want to go clone that $1 billion producer guy that's
Mhm.
like getting billion streams. No, that's what he does.
Yeah.
we don't need to do that because it's already out there. Let's do something else.
yeah. You got to bring something new and fresh to the market. And, and I think that's, when I first started right after the tornado happened, I just started telling my story to everybody. People were very interested in like, oh my gosh, like what would I do if I was in a tornado? What would I do if I went through an adverse situation? That kind of thing. But then they did say like, exactly like, what would you pack before the tornado happens? Like, what would you put in your bag or something like that? Right.
You want to keep it from getting destroyed. Like what's your, your precious bag?
Exactly. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't really think about that. And then I started looking around. I was like, surely there's like a bag on the market that I could point them to and say, oh yeah, go to Amazon and type in and get this bag. But what I found was like, if I sent them there and said, type in survival kit or anything like that, I'm like, that actually, if I would have had that bag, it would have been worse for me because the way that they pack these survival bags, it's for any kind of severe weather event and hurricanes and fires and all that. So they give you like 5 days of food. I don't need 5 days of food if I'm hit by a tornado.
It's not the
grocery store's still open down the road.
Yeah.
And then they like put in like a shovel and water supplies and all this stuff, and it's a ton. It's just like packed in there and doesn't even give you room to put anything else. And I'm like, what I wish I would have had was like almost like an empty backpack with just a first aid kit, a lantern, because you got to have light, and your flashlight on your phone doesn't really work very well. You want a lantern.
Really good one.
But and definitely first aid kit, like we talked about with glass going in your head and all that. You need tweezers, you need gauze, you need all of that. But you can just get that in a first aid kit. And then a whistle, because just like you said, like if it comes on top of you, you can blow on that. Quick access to that again. If you got one in a survival kit that's packed with everything, it's like, where's the whistle?
Trying to find it. If you have too much, then
you want those like outside pockets, and so you want quick access to that, and then you just want basically the education as well. And so that's when I found that wasn't on the market. That's when I created the Tornado Go bag, and that's at the tornadosmart.com.
So you have a very specific bag.
I have a very specific bag that I created.
Everything bag. Like the problem is if it's everything, it's too much.
It really is. But it's also with room to put your own stuff because everybody's different. So if you have a pet, you need to put your dog's leash in there. If you, have medication, you need to put your medication in there. So it doesn't come with everything because I don't have everything that you need, and every family's different. Yeah. But it has these outside pockets that I love because they're easy. You can get to it quickly and you know where it is. And you can put it in there like my wallet and keys. I wish I would have had that. So I kind of throw this blueprint up that shows like, this is where I put my wallet and keys. Obviously it doesn't come with wallet and keys, but you need to know where you're putting that. So when you grab your go bag, there's a tornado watch, and you grab your go bag, you're going to go ahead and put your keys and wallet in there before you go to bed that night, if there's a chance at night.
Oh,
that way you're not running around.
Out for the watch, and if you see a watch, then you go.
Then you just go ahead and put it in there, and then when the watch is gone or whatever, you take it out and you put it back. But you don't, because there's so little time. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to have my keys. I'm supposed to have my wallet.
If you're trying to do all that in the middle, you're probably going to get caught up, and they're going to have to pull you out.
Exactly. And laptop. Honestly, like I did not grab our laptop, and it got smashed underneath that huge brick wall that I was saying that was over our bed.
That too, with all the insurance.
And then insurance is like, "Where's this document?" I'm like, "I don't know. My laptop got smashed." And how easy would it have been for me to grab that laptop and just slide it in my bag? And so that's what I teach. I have a 6-session course that comes with the go bag, and I teach that kind of stuff and just tell them like, "This is what I wish I would have had, and this is where you put everything," and then that way. They have a plan, they put up that go bag, and then their kids see that, and their kids say, ooh, like that's where we go if there's a tornado, because you hung up the bag in the place where they're supposed to go. And that helps lower their storm anxiety. So when they hear the thunder and they hear the tornado warning or whatever, they're like, oh, we know where to go. Mom and dad have a plan. So it's a domino effect. And
it's kind of like if you live in an earthquake zone, and I was in Tokyo, and I was really amazed. I was there for 2 years.
Wow.
And the job had drills.
Wow.
And I remember when the first time I got there in 2004, I was there to 2004, 2006, and my company did a drill. Mm-hmm. And like when I first got there, they gave me like a helmet, like a construction helmet. They gave me this little kit. They said, keep it under your desk. We're going to have a drill today. Just follow everybody. I said, what do you mean? It's like the thing went off. They said, follow the lead.
And you put on a helmet for the drill?
Yeah. Actually, because you're in the skyscraper, you don't know what's going to come down. So you put on this helmet, you have a kit with you. It's got water. It's got a little first aid thing. Like it would just go around your neck and you have it.
Wow.
Everybody went down the stairs instead of the elevator. And then they have these little parks all over Tokyo that have little ponds, and you go to the park and you go to these park areas and everybody goes around the pond, because like what happens sometimes in these earthquakes, when it's bad, they actually can catch fire. So if you have these little areas that have these ponds, you have a place that if there's a fire storm, you have a place to go in the water to save yourself. But they have it real planned out.
Yeah. They're prepared.
Out. They're super planned out. I mean, I wouldn't. If I was in California, I don't think they do that.
No. Wow.
So
yeah. That's
that
very
was like,
interesting.
I was amazed. It's like, and it would happen at the time that I was there. I did like 4 drills.
Wow.
And I'm like, so it was, then I actually knew what happened. There was a couple of earthquakes when I was there. And we actually did it, because there actually was one, they were shaking the building, and we actually went into the thing. And, it was like a 4 or something, but like they have them a lot. So like you end up going through it.
Yeah, but how much better did you feel that you were prepared, that you had
I knew what to do. It's like, if I was sitting there saying, what am I supposed to do? It's like,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of, like, we talked earlier about, people moving to Tornado Alley or wherever from California and all that. And they just didn't grow up like I did, like going and doing the drills and all that kind of stuff. And so I've actually been talking to some realtors that I know, and they want to like give the bag to their new clients who come in from California. And I'm like, that's great. Like, those are the things that I didn't think about when I started, but now that it's all like going and they actually see the bag,
you have a good business model. You like people, they're coming in. It's like when insurance agents are always looking for like the new homeowners.
Yep.
They're always like, who's the newest people to buy these houses? So they always show up and say, "Oh, do you have enough coverage?" So, so you're giving them like this other layer. It's like, this is the preparedness coverage for the tornado.
That's right.
So the same people who like somebody just came in with bought this new house. That's an opportunity to kind of cold call all the people who are moving in.
Yep. And again, for me, it's not about, like, obviously I have to make money in order to keep this thing going, but it's also just brings me so much joy that when I see that somebody has a plan, because I know their kids are going to be less scared and that they're going to be safe, and that they're also their neighborhood. Like, if their neighborhood gets hit or 2 blocks above them gets hit, they have their first aid kit. They can slap on that backpack and go and help. And so I tell people, so one of the things that comes in the bag is a hanger, an actual like hanger, like you have like in college with a sticky back and you can put it up against any wall. And then I say, if you put that up in your safe spot and you actually hang your Tornado Go bag and take a picture of it and send it to info@tornadosmart.com, I will send you a free mug. And then they get a mug with the little logo on there. And then every time they're sipping their coffee, their family's watching them, they're eating breakfast, sipping their coffee, and their family knows, like, oh yeah, that's the same company where we know where to go because of tornado. So it all like comes together in ways that's pretty cool. That I didn't know before I started it, but it just kind of like builds.
You're getting good at marketing.
Well, I've had a lot of fun, and also not just me, right? Like, I have a lot of friends who are really good at marketing who have helped me with that. So it's been very rewarding.
I think it's cool to have a service that it's leveling up people and it's actually giving them something. It's like you get some services, they don't care what's really the value of that. But this is something like, if people don't take it seriously, like, earthquakes, fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, there's all kinds of things, floods. And some folks don't know what to do. It's like, they like, you're in the flood zone. If they tell you to evacuate the flood zone, you probably should, before it gets to be like 10 feet in your house.
Like, where do I go?
You got to kind of know, like, what's the route? What's the flood evacuation? Where am I supposed to go?
Yep.
Like, where's the evacuation point? What happens if I don't have the resources? Who can help me get out? Like, that's like, you wonder, like, well, how do I get my temporary housing? How do I get in touch with FEMA? How do I get food? All my food's gone. Like, what am I supposed to do? So
exactly.
There's a lot of things that are like immediate things. And then there's what happens after like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like a month. Like, what is a like plans on like what's immediate and what's like long term.
Right. Yeah. Just like the PTSD thing. Like, if you're waking up every night at 12:55 in the morning for 3 months, you probably need to go get some help.
That kind of stuff. Well, I think anybody who's gone through a traumatic thing, if you have people that go through a really bad earthquake or a really bad flood, and there's every time it's like a thunderstorm, or every time like a truck goes by and the house shakes, you're like, oh, for sure. Is that it? Is that it coming again? He's like, you don't know. It kind of triggers you.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to realize, like, it's not a problem to ask for help.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think we're kind of
Really.
told like, oh, just suck it up.
Yeah. 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 And that somehow it's weak to ask for help or to lean on your community. And then I think that's also why I encourage people to look for the people who've gone through an adverse situation, because we have so many friends and family who've gone through something, and we may not think like, hey, we need to just say it out loud. Hey, it's okay if you need help. It's okay to lean on me. Do you have any questions that you're scared to ask? That kind of
Yeah,
thing. And you could be that person for them because they're going through it and they're feeling all the feels, just like we talked about, like, it's weak of me to think this, or, oh, I don't, or sometimes they don't even realize how bad it is because they're just in it. You can't see the forest through the trees kind
yeah,
of thing.
you kind of have to give yourself some perspective. You always talk about that
Hmm.
50,000-foot view.
That's right.
Because like if you're in the middle of something, you're so narrow in it.
Hmm.
It's so immediate. Like you always have to like step away from it,
Hmm.
kind of look at it like from a different perspective and say, hey, it's legitimate for me to feel like a little insecure or to feel
Yep.
not okay. Right. So now
Hmm.
what do I do? Do I just sit there and say, well, I'm just gonna stay in not okay land?
Right.
Or am I gonna actually try to do something about it?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's hard because you can legitimately sit in that victim mindset, and people, like, if I just always sat around just like, well, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed, people would be like, well, yeah, I mean, the dude was hit by a tornado. I can't imagine going through that. I'd probably be that way too. And then you kind of get off on that and you can just be like, I'm just going to take this easy route. And it's hard to kind of just say, all right, not only am I going to move forward, but I'm going to relive every day the
Yeah, that's
worst day
right.
of my life. But the reason why is because I don't want other people to have the worst day of their life.
Well, it's kind of like musicians, like we take like these cathartic events.
Mhm.
They take an event. Like a lot of
Yeah,
songwriters,
that's right.
people like the song because the songwriter actually is so
Mm,
vulnerable, right? They
yes.
actually tell you something that was
Mhm.
really painful to them,
Yeah.
right? And usually it resonates because like, wow, that feels authentic
Yep.
because that person's like spilling their guts
That's right.
and they put it down. But it was like in the act of creating that song, it was very
Mhm.
cathartic for the
Yes.
musician and
Yep.
for the for the painter or for the actor. Every time I talk to like artists, it's like
Mhm.
the actors like they have to pull something to
Mhm.
feel that thing, right? And you
Yeah.
see like they're crying or angry. It's like, how did they do it? And it feels really authentic because they actually are going through it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so like when artists can do that, they usually
Mhm.
can get to another level where
Mhm.
they can actually like they can process things and then it becomes like a way to thrive in this world by like actually being honest
Yeah.
about how you handle feelings, how you handle stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, and I so respect. I'm with you. I mean, obviously, I was in Nashville, surrounded by tons of musicians, and really respect all musicians, especially when they're creating something new for the market that is helping people like be vulnerable, be real. I was actually just listening to the new Ray album,
Mhm.
Raye,
Yeah,
and her new album, came out like in March or whatever, but the album I really appreciate because it's a concept album, like, it goes from beginning to end, and
I
it's
like those
it's
type of
the
albums.
deepest, darkest place that she's in, and then by the end, there's hope, and it's very well done artistically, and I love it. I think it's great, but, it helps because when I hear that, I'm like, "Okay, I'm not the only one who's gone through
Yeah,
something
that's what's
terrible."
great about like artists because they, some of these people, some kids today, they only listen to playlists. But I'm a
Mm.
child of the '70s. I like
Oh,
albums,
that's right.
and so and I like
Yep.
man, I like bands like Yes and Genesis and
Mhm.
the Who with Tommy and so I would listen, to everything. I listen to
Yeah.
Motown, I listen to jazz. But the
Yeah.
idea is like I would listen to an artist's full complete
Right.
thought, which is actually their record.
Yes.
I always tell kids today, like if you just hit a single,
Mhm.
that's like the cliff notes to that artist. That doesn't represent who they are. Like if you
Exactly.
really want to know who they are, you need to
Mhm.
listen to one of their whole albums.
Well, I think that is one of the things that's encouraging about the new generation is that they're into vinyls. They are
Yeah,
into the
because they
album.
want to actually sit there
Mhm.
and guess what? Like I'm put the needle down and
Yep.
I can't be on TikTok.
Yeah.
I
I
can't be
can't
on
skip.
Instagram. I
I
can't
have to
just skip
listen to
it
that song.
around.
I mean, how many times growing up did we have to listen through a song and we're like, "Ah, I don't like it,
I don't
but
know
I
if I
have to
like it,
listen
but
to it to get to the
to get to
next
the next
one."
one, yeah,
But then because you had to listen to it, you're like, "Oh, actually,
that's
that's
not
really good.
bad.
That actually might be my favorite now,"
Might be
because you were
better than
forced
the
to listen.
single.
Yeah, because you're forced to listen to the whole thing, and you get this appreciation. I mean, I'm a huge Billie Eilish fan,
Yeah,
and she does that too. I mean, her and Phineas, like, their albums, like,
or like
from
they say
beginning to
something.
end.
They say
It's
so.
so
I mean,
good, and it's not even the same genre. That's what I don't get. Like, I'm like, how did they do that? It's incredible. I mean,
what I
there's
love is like, I always talk to these artists. They play like the Beatles. I mean,
Mhm,
Sergeant Pepper's is not a concept album, but
mhm,
it is meant to be heard in complete as a complete
100%.
statement.
Oh
Now
yeah.
it doesn't flow like Tommy, doesn't
Mhm,
flow like Quadrophenia or Queen, or it doesn't
mhm,
flow like a Yes album or a Genesis album. But
mhm.
it's that you realize like the album is a form.
Yes.
It's like an author making
Mhm.
you pulling you into that book, and you get caught into the plot and you
Yeah.
stay in it.
Yep.
That's why I think it's great about artists that they
Mhm,
work with albums, because
mhm,
even if the songs are different, like if you build it in an album structure, it doesn't even have to be full concept.
mhm.
It's meant to be listened to as a complete picture.
Yep.
And I think if people take the patience to actually like don't be distracted by everything,
Yeah.
like actually, just like a book, you get pulled into the book. If you're in a
Mhm.
movie, don't be looking at your phone when you're watching a movie. If you
Right.
want to know what the plot is, you
Yeah.
can't be looking on TikTok if you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out the plot. It's like you gotta
Yeah.
actually watch it.
Or the people who like when you start just an incredible movie, like, I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan,
Oh yeah,
and
you
so
gotta watch his
but
movie.
you watch it with some people and they're just, well, I don't understand what's going on. I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
That's
That's
the
part
point.
of that's the whole point of all of this. That's part of the
You might have
creative
to watch it
genius.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, because you're still thinking about, you go to bed thinking like,
What do you mean? Like, then
oh
you
yeah,
watch
and then
some
you
of
want
these
to watch it
movies
again. Yeah.
meant to be watched. I mean, like Orson
Uh-huh.
Welles. Like if you watch
Mm.
Citizen Kane,
Yep.
Citizen
Yep.
Kane is meant to be watched multiple times because there's so
Hmm.
many little Easter eggs all over the whole thing.
Yep.
There's camera angles that mean things.
Hmm.
There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and some people are like, oh, I just want to watch it in one shot and understand it. Like
Yeah, you just
artists
miss it.
usually
It's just flat.
we
Like, you're
don't do it
watching
like
it
that.
like this, and there's a whole depth behind it. I mean, I know people like watch Pulp Fiction and like, well, it didn't make any sense. Like, how is it possible the guy who died there was alive at the end? I'm like, because it was supposed to be written that way. Like, it's not in chronological order.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not. Yeah, timelines can be very. You can be really cool with timelines,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then
I love
really
that
advanced like
creativity.
directors will not go sequentially. They'll
Yeah.
bounce around, and it's confusing to people that want to have that linear.
Yes.
If you have somebody that really thinks linear and they're not
Yeah.
artists tend to bounce around. If you talk to
Right.
artists, they'll be like, a lot of songwriters, like they might start with the end of the song,
Yeah.
the middle of the song. They don't always start with the first part.
Hmm.
And so people always think things are like sequential. Like film directors
Hmm.
are famous. I was talking to one, they're filming the last scene as the first scene.
Yeah.
The middle scene is like somewhere in between. All the scenes are in different orders.
Yeah.
And then they string them together, right? You think it's all going sequential. It's not. And a
Mhm.
lot of art is like that.
Yeah.
And people don't get it because they never really get into the artist's mind.
Mhm.
And they just think it's like, oh, well, it's just meant to be thought of like, as X.
Yeah.
It's never X. It could be like, it's not black and white. There's a
That's
lot
right.
of gray. There's
Right.
there's a lot of space in between things. And
Mhm.
everybody just wants to say it's yes and no. It's
Yeah.
0 and 1. It's it's like all right or not all right. It's like, no, there's a little bit of space, and you need to be more willing
Mhm.
to absorb the space.
Exactly. No, I love to live there. I love to live in that mystery and allow people to create, their amazing life and to enjoy the mystery and the gray area.
Well, I think it's cool when like, you came up with like your books. You
Mhm.
got like a methodology. You got the
Mhm.
pack. You come up with a complete thought. Like it's multimedia. You've got like
Mhm.
you're not just looking at one thing. It's not just two-dimensional.
Yeah.
You're looking at like a three-dimensional world, and that's the way things are.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
the more people that are more expansive
Mhm.
in the way they approach things, and then also lessons learned. Like you learn a lesson, you pay people forward by teaching people the lesson that you learn.
Yep. Exactly.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I feel like what life's all about is, you go through all the crazy stuff and then you teach the next generation how to like improve off of it and not fall into the same pitfalls that you fell into and live just a better life than you even lived. That's the goal.
Yeah, that you want like the next generation to kind of benefit and do better.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's always cool when you give that advice, you pay it forward. And I want to let people know we've had your QR code up. But if people don't know how that works, take your phone and scan that, and that's for the tornadosmart.com. So if people go there, that's how they can like enter your world of what
Yep.
you're doing here.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, you can buy the bag there. You can do the online course there. I mean, there's lots of different ways to engage. And I even have a consulting call that you can do with me. So if you live in Tornado Alley and you're just like, I literally don't know what I would do, you can set up a time with me and we'll do a free 30-minute call. And I'll just walk you through, hey, this is probably where you should go.
That's cool. That's really cool. Because some people, if I don't know what to do and maybe they're not teaching people like what to do, especially if you're new in town and you haven't gone through the training, you don't know what their alerts are, you don't know what's going on. I think that's cool that you're giving that offer to people. And I love, to have this platform for people to like tell people about things that may not know about.
Exactly. Love that.
But thank you again for being here today. I think it's been really cool. I mean, we've got your link here on the bottom if people want to use the QR code. I want to let people know that on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick, that is clickable in the podcast description. We're going to be on Apple Podcast, Spotify Video Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, a couple other platforms like Newsly. We'll create a landing page for you guys, and you can share that with the audience through the Podmatch system we have. But within 24 hours, we'll give you the rest of the links so you can share it with everybody.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.